I shouldn't have stayed that late. That's the first thing I keep thinking. But the second thing, the one I can't shake, is how her voice sounded when she said it. It started simple. My friend had asked me to help his aunt with a leaky faucet. He couldn't make it, and I figured, 30 minutes tops. I didn't know much about her, except she was older, lived alone, and everyone said she was particular. I was expecting someone cold, maybe even cranky. Instead, she opened the door in a loose cardigan, her dark hair pinned up carelessly, a glass of red wine on the counter behind her. The place smelled faintly of lavender and something sharper, like old books and rain. She smiled, quick and polite, but there was a kind of tiredness in her eyes, the kind that made me hesitate before stepping inside. The faucet was a mess, but nothing I couldn't handle. I crouched down, tools clattering against the sink. She hovered, leaning on the doorway, arms folded. We made small talk, the kind that fills silence but doesn't mean much. Your hands look steady, she said suddenly, almost like she surprised herself by saying it. I glanced up. She wasn't looking at my hands at all. She looked away quickly, brushing her sleeve as if that would erase the moment. I tightened the wrench, pretending not to notice. Minutes stretched. The house was too quiet except for the drip-drip and the occasional creak of the pipes. Every time I shifted, I felt her presence at my back. It wasn't uncomfortable, just heavy, charged, like a storm cloud gathering. You didn't have to come so late, she said softly after a while. It's fine. Didn't want you waiting another day with this leak. You remind me of. She stopped, cleared her throat. Never mind. You're thoughtful. That silence again. I didn't know what she meant, but it stayed in the air between us, thick and strange. When I finished, I stood up, wiping my hands on a rag. She was closer than I realized. Close enough I caught the warmth of her perfume, faint but lingering. Our eyes met, and I swear either of us blinked for a long second. Thank you, she murmured, her voice quieter now, almost fragile. I nodded, suddenly aware of the space between us, of how late it had gotten. The clock on the wall read nearly midnight. I should get going, I said, but my words didn't have much weight behind them. Her hand brushed against mine as she reached to take the rag. Not by accident. Not exactly deliberate either. Just enough to make my chest tighten. She held the rag, but she didn't let go of it right away. Her eyes lingered on mine, uncertain, hesitant, but with something else buried there, something I couldn't name. You don't have to leave yet, she said finally. The words were slow, careful, but there was no mistaking them. My throat went dry. I searched her face for a joke, a casual tone, something that would make it easy to step back. But she didn't laugh. She just looked at me, steady, almost vulnerable. I'm too lonely tonight, she added, softer still. Stay with me. The air stopped moving. My heart thudded loud enough I thought she could hear it. And that's where everything shifted, one sentence hanging in the air like a secret I was never meant to hear, but couldn't forget now that I had. I should have walked out. That would have been the smart thing, the decent thing. But smart and decent weren't what I was thinking about when she said it. Her words kept circling in my head. I'm too lonely tonight, stay with me. I froze, standing there in her kitchen like some kid who'd just been caught doing something wrong. But she wasn't accusing me of anything. She was inviting me. And that was worse. She noticed the way I hesitated. She stepped back, gave me space like she was already regretting saying it. Forget it, she said quickly, waving a hand. I shouldn't have, you're fine. I cut in. Too fast. Too defensive. My voice cracked at the edges, and I hated how obvious it sounded. She half smiled, but it was a sad kind of smile, the kind people wear when they're already used to being misunderstood. She turned, reaching for her wine glass. I watched her fingers curl around the stem. They trembled, just slightly. That detail stuck with me. A woman like her, composed, sharp, the kind who seemed to have everything in order, her hands shouldn't shake. And yet they did. Rough night? I asked. My words were clumsy, but I couldn't stop myself. She let out a laugh, quiet and hollow. Rough year. Then she shook her head, as if she'd said too much already. I wanted to ask more. Instead, I leaned against the counter, pretending I wasn't still replaying her invitation in my head. The silence pressed down again, heavy and unbearable. I'm not usually like this, she said suddenly. She didn't look at me when she said it. I don't ask people to stay. I don't let people in. Her honesty caught me off guard. There was something raw in it, like a crack in a wall no one was supposed to see. I swallowed hard. My chest felt too tight. Why me then? I asked before I could stop myself. She looked at me then, finally. Really looked. Her eyes searched my face like she was trying to find the answer herself. Because you listen, she whispered. You don't realize it, but you do. The words hit me harder than I expected. I'd spent most of my life feeling like background noise, like someone easily forgotten. And here she was, telling me I wasn't invisible. Dangerous. That's what it was. Not because of what people would think if they knew, but because of how easily I could get lost in her. The clock ticked louder now, like it was pushing me toward a decision. I should go, I said finally, though the words felt thin. Her hand landed on my arm before I could move. Gentle. Warm. But it sent a jolt through me. You could, she said softly, her eyes steady on mine. Or you could stay. Just a little longer. Her fingers lingered, light but certain, and I swear I almost said yes before I even realized my mouth had opened. And that's where the night tilted into something neither of us could pretend away. Her hand was still on my arm when the silence cracked open between us. I should have stepped back. I should have laughed it off, made a joke, said thanks for the wine but I've got to run. Instead, I stood there, every nerve lit up, unable to move. Her eyes didn't waver. There was something naked in the way she looked at me, like she wanted me to see her, really see her, and not look away. I swallowed hard. My voice barely worked. You don't know what you're asking. Maybe not, she said softly. Or maybe I do. The room shrank around us, the hum of the refrigerator louder, the tick of the wall clock unbearable. She let her hand slide down, fingers brushing the inside of my wrist before pulling away. A small gesture, but enough to leave my skin burning. I needed air. I turned, searching for something, anything, to break the tension. That's when her phone buzzed on the counter. The sound was sharp, startling. She glanced at the screen, then flipped it face down without answering. You're not going to, no. She cut me off quickly. It's no one. But the way her jaw tightened told me it wasn't no one. It was someone she didn't want to explain. My chest tightened. A part of me wanted to ask, but the smarter part stayed silent. I tried to pull myself back, to put distance where there wasn't any. I should head out, I said again, but the words rang hollow. My feet didn't move. She turned toward me, slower this time, like she was measuring the space carefully. You don't have to, she murmured. Her voice wasn't pleading, it was steady, certain in a way that made me weak. And then, too quick to plan, too natural to stop, her hand brushed against mine as she reached past me for her glass. Our fingers collided, lingered. Neither of us pulled away. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. I knew I should step back, but instead I let my thumb graze her knuckle, a tiny, reckless betrayal of common sense. The front porch creaked suddenly. A sound outside. My head snapped up. Someone walking past? A neighbor? My friend? My stomach nodded. She froze too, her body going rigid, the glass still in her hand. For a moment, we both listened to the night pressing in against the walls. When nothing followed, no knock, no voice, she let out a shaky laugh, barely more than a whisper. That was close, she said. Close to what? I asked, though I already knew. She set the glass down, too quickly, wine sloshing against the rim. Then she looked at me, her expression unreadable, half fear, half hunger. We shouldn't, she whispered. But the way she said it didn't sound like a warning. It sounded like an invitation. I leaned in before I realized it, caught between gravity and guilt, her breath warm against mine. And that's where the question hung. Were we seconds from pulling back, or seconds from falling? Her eyes locked on mine, and for a moment neither of us moved. It felt like standing on a ledge, both of us leaning forward, daring the other to step first. I should have looked away. I should have said goodnight and walked out. Instead, I whispered, "Why me?" The question slipped out before I could stop it. Her breath caught, almost like I'd pressed on a bruise. She leaned back against the counter, arms folding tight across her chest as though she needed to hold herself together. "Because you don't look at me the way they do," she said finally, her voice low, unsteady. "The way who does?" "Everyone." She gave a short, bitter laugh. "Men my age. Friends. Even family. They see what I'm missing, what I've lost. You don't. You just see me." Her words hit me like a confession I wasn't supposed to hear. The air grew thick, unbreathable. My chest ached because she was right, because I did see her, and I couldn't unsee her now. I stepped closer without meaning to, my hand brushing the counter beside her. "And that's a bad thing?" She shook her head. "No. That's the dangerous thing." For a long second, all I could do was look at her, the way her hair had slipped loose from its pin, the faint line of worry between her brows, the trembling in her lips she tried to hide. Every detail etched itself into me like something I couldn't erase. I wanted to touch her. God, I wanted to. But I clenched my fists instead, nails digging into my palms, trying to hold the line. Then she asked, almost in a whisper, "Do you ever think about it? About us?" The question slammed into me. My heart stuttered, and I knew lying wasn't possible. I nodded barely. Her hand lifted, hovering in the space between us. She didn't touch me, not yet, but her fingers trembled inches from mine. "I've tried not to," she said. "I've tried so hard." My throat was dry. I managed only. "So have I." That admission was enough. It cracked something open. The room felt smaller, her presence heavier, like there was no way out now. I leaned in, just a fraction, close enough to feel the warmth of her skin, close enough that my breath tangled with hers. She didn't move away. But she didn't move closer either. The clock ticked in the background, every second dragging us tighter into the silence. Her eyes searched mine, desperate and afraid all at once. "Tell me what you want," she whispered. The words hung between us like a blade, sharp and final. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. We stood there, two people on the edge of something neither of us could take back, locked in a silence so heavy it might as well have been a kiss. And in that silence, everything changed. Her whisper, "Tell me what you want," was still suspended in the air when the silence cracked, not with words but with the sudden chime of her phone again. Sharp. Invasive. This time she didn't ignore it. She flinched, grabbed it too quickly, the glow of the screen lighting her face. Her expression changed. Not anger. Not fear. Something else, something raw. She turned the phone face down again, but I'd already seen enough. A name. It was my friend. The world tilted. My friend, the one who sent me here, the one who trusted me. She saw the way my jaw tightened, the way I froze. "It's not what you think," she said, her voice breaking before I could even speak. "What am I supposed to think?" I asked, my voice harsher than I meant. My chest burned. "He's calling you and you're—" I stopped, because the rest of the sentence was too much, too heavy to say out loud. She pressed a hand to her forehead, like she could push back the years, the guilt, the weight. "He doesn't know," she whispered. "He doesn't know how lonely it's been. He doesn't know what I've been through." The room seemed smaller, tighter, the air gone from it. My pulse thudded in my ears. "Then tell me," I said, softer now. "Tell me what I don't know." She looked at me, tired, stripped down, as though she'd been holding something back for too long. "When his mother left, I raised him," she said. I gave up everything. Marriage. Career. Even myself. I was always the one who stayed. And then he grew up, and he moved on, and Her voice cracked. I had no one left. Her words landed like a confession and a wound all at once. My throat tightened. This wasn't just about me. This wasn't even about tonight. This was years of silence, of carrying too much. I'm sorry, I said quietly, though I didn't know what I was apologizing for. Being here, being too young, being the only one who listened. She shook her head, stepping closer, desperate now. Don't apologize. Just don't walk away from me. Something inside me wavered, broke. Because as much as my head screamed wrong, 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 my heart ached for her, aching at the thought of leaving her with nothing but silence again. But then the knock came. 3 sharp raps on the front door. Both of us froze. She stiffened, eyes wide. It's him, she whispered, panic flashing in her face. The world narrowed to the sound of my heartbeat. I didn't know if she meant my friend, or someone else entirely. Either way, I knew the next moment would change everything. She looked at me, pleading, her voice barely audible. What are we going to do? The knock echoed through the house again, louder this time. My chest seized. She stood frozen in the middle of the kitchen, her face pale, her hands twisting at the hem of her cardigan. I stepped toward her instinctively, lowering my voice. Do you want me to answer it? Her head jerked. No. The word came too quickly, too sharp. Then softer. No. Please. Another knock. Whoever it was, they weren't leaving. Her eyes flicked to mine, wide and terrified, but underneath the fear there was something else, a plea. Not just about the door. About everything. Tell me the truth, I said, almost whispering. If it's him, if it's my friend, tell me now. She swallowed hard. The silence dragged. Finally, she whispered, It's not him. A beat. But it could be. It could be anyone. And if it is... Her voice broke. If it is, I lose you. Before I even have you, I lose you. The words tore something open in me. Because she was right. We'd been teetering on the edge all night, never saying it, never daring. But here it was, laid bare. The knocking stopped. Whoever it was had gone, leaving only the sound of my own uneven breathing. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt the weight of her words pressing down. I don't want to be another regret for you, I said finally. My throat tightened. And I don't want to betray him. She stepped closer, close enough I felt the heat of her body against mine. You think this is about betrayal? Her eyes glistened. It's about finally feeling alive. Just once. Just not being invisible. The confession gutted me. I thought of her shaking hands, her lonely house, the way she'd said I had no one left. She wasn't asking me for forever. She was asking me not to look away. I reached for her hand, trembling but steady enough to hold hers. You're not invisible. Not to me. You never were. Her lips parted, a breath caught between us, but she didn't move closer. Neither did I. We just stood there, hands locked, hearts pounding. I don't know what happens after this, she whispered. Neither do I admitted. For a long moment, that was enough. Not a promise, not a plan, just the truth. Then she leaned forward, her forehead resting lightly against mine. Not a kiss. Not yet. Just the smallest touch, fragile and desperate, as if both of us knew one wrong move would shatter it. And in that quiet, in that closeness, the decision was made, not with words, but with the silence that bound us together. Neither of us walked away. Her forehead rested against mine, and for a long while neither of us spoke. The kitchen was silent, except for the faint hum of the fridge and the slowing rhythm of our breathing. It wasn't a kiss. It wasn't anything anyone else would have called a declaration. But it was enough to change everything. I felt her hand tighten around mine, almost imperceptibly, as if she was scared I might vanish if she let go. And maybe that was true, maybe I would have. Finally, she whispered, So what happens now? I could have lied. I could have given her something simple, something easy. But all I had was honesty. I don't know, I said. But I know I don't want to pretend this never happened. She let out a shaky laugh, half relief, half disbelief. You're too young to be this honest. And you're too used to people leaving, I replied. That silenced her. She blinked rapidly, eyes glistening again, and I realized how much she hated being seen like this, raw, unguarded, stripped of the armor she'd worn for years. And yet she let me see it. That was the difference. We didn't rush toward each other. We didn't dive headfirst into a kiss or tumble into reckless promises. Instead, we sat at her kitchen table, still holding hands, the clock ticking softly above us. We talked. About nothing. About everything. About her regrets, my uncertainty, and the strange, dangerous comfort we'd found in each other. By the time the night faded into gray morning light, something had shifted between us. Not perfect love. Not a fairy tale. But something truer, the knowledge that we were no longer strangers in each other's lives. When I finally stood to leave, she walked me to the door. Her hand lingered on the doorknob before she opened it, her voice barely audible. Will you come back? I didn't hesitate this time. Yes. The word was simple, but it carried the weight of everything left unsaid. As I stepped out into the morning air, I knew nothing about the future was certain. My friend, her past, the risk of being found out, it all still loomed. But I also knew the loneliness that haunted her eyes had cracked, just a little. And in its place was something fragile, something we'd both dared to touch. Maybe that was enough. Maybe, for now, it had to be. Speech Balloon, did you enjoy the story? If you did, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.